Welcome back to where Bluebirds work. We are digesting Leeds 7, Cardiff 0. Matthew says, honestly, F the lot of you. I don't care how good Leeds were. You gave up after that fourth goal. Now look at our goal difference. Have some effing pride, you absolute spineless peas. We've got Jamie and James to very carefully go over that incredible results from Elland Road. We're now talking about the goal difference and will that the thing that keeps us up. And this weekend at Stoke, should Cardiff just sacrifice the cup in order to go and get 3 points at Portsmouth 3 days after? We'll be asking these guys their opinions on that. We're all looking at the February fixtures, our January awards, and we're also completing our worst ever Cardiff side of all time. We're doing that with Jamie and James. Don't forget, if you haven't followed Jamie yet on Twitter, go and do so, and we'll get James's Twitter in the descriptions. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. I'm not sure whether we could just leave this Leeds discussion and move on and talk about Stoke, but we'll have to look at it briefly. Jamie, what went wrong for you? You were there.
I just think the application of a lot of the team. Leeds were superior to us in every aspect. Yes, they've got a very, very good team, and we all know that. But you still have to do the basics, the fundamentals, well enough to stand a chance. They were all over us. And when your goalkeeper kind of is halfway out of his box, it's like you can't be hesitant at a place like Elland Road. You let their fans get high, it's I mean, like the initial quote, it just compiled one goal after another error after another. And I think, the fans kept going, but it felt like the players certainly didn't at times.
James, we know Leeds have spent money on their side, but 7-0. There was one fan that suggested that it was in attendance. It quite easily could have been 10 or 11. Was that your view as well?
Yeah, they were just absolutely relentless after, the first minute, really. I mean, I think they scored 2 goals in the first 12 minutes. And to be honest, when you go to Elland Road and you're 2-0 down within 12 minutes, it's game over. It don't matter who you are. They're absolutely relentless at home. And, to be honest, in the end, 7 is probably okay that we kept that, but obviously very bad. That we obviously lost. I don't mind losing games, but 7-0 is an embarrassment.
Yeah, it's not doesn't help when you've got Lee Trundle posting pictures of 7-Up cans, have you, on social media?
I mean, to be honest, I thought the 7-Up was referenced to the amount of days he gone missing. Since 7 days was the days that we beat him in the derby and he hasn't piped up. But, on the back of what James said there, if you're going to lose a game of football, every fan can accept losing. As long as they see some sort of minimal effort, some effort as a minimum. I'm not saying players to go out there to intentionally play poorly or anything like that, but yesterday it just felt like, Leeds were threatening from, their front, they're from the wingers, especially Dan James. Being Welsh, we know what he can offer. But you can't allow him just to run in behind you so effortlessly. And again, as much as it hurts me to say it, you have to credit Leeds. Of course, they've got a great squad, but they picked us off very, very easily yesterday. And, let's not forget, if we want a positive, we were 8 unbeaten going into that one. If you're going to have a blip, let's do it when you're kind of not going to drop into the drop zone. So now that's gone. Move on to next week, rub it off, forget about it, and move on.
Okay. Well said. Let's have a few more takes, though. Concerns about the goal difference now, though, James. Our goal difference could really be the key differential in whether we stay up or not, says FFW Pelt. Back to reality after a solid run of games. But quite frankly, this result is totally unacceptable, regardless of how good Leeds are. We are expecting a big reaction at Portsmouth. Is that a fair comment about the goal difference, James?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously conceding 7 against Leeds, and there's probably been one. I think 5 as well away at Burnley earlier in the season. It's quite poor. I mean, Derby went to Elland Road, and I know obviously they never won, but they kept the score down and they sort of fought till the end to make sure the score didn't even get to sort of 7-0. So very disappointing to do that, really, and sort of not even stay competitive even when we know the game is gone. To be sorry to keep on, but it's two teams, both professional in the same league. You should 7-0 shouldn't be happening. That's something you see in Sunday League, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, the goal difference was -11 before the game, and now obviously -18, and that now makes it, Jamie, the third worst in the league, behind obviously Plymouth and Luton at the bottom. We can't forecast this, but how damaging do you think that is psychologically for the players?
I mean, it can be. Again, like I alluded to not so long ago, we were 8 unbeaten. So as much as I was emotionally frustrated, and every fan is, we've got to kind of forget it. We've moved on from really bad days before. You've got to sort of push that away now. I think it's like someone said to me yesterday, the significant goal difference yesterday, the 7 goals, almost like an extra point in a relegation battle, because you never know how important it's going to be. And again, the pride of the players will be hurt. Of course it will, because no professional footballer wants to get 7 on them and ultimately only have 2 shots on target in a league game. But it is what it is. What is done, and now we have to move on. And I'm sure Omar Rizza, albeit from the stands, because he's serving that 3-game ban, will have to find a way of, whether it was lack of or communication down to the bench yesterday, maybe him not being on the touchline. I'm plucking feathers there, but these are things that we're going to have to deal with, and ultimately get some plans in place now, because February is a huge month for us.
It certainly is. We'll have a look at the fixtures in a minute. Just one more on the selection, though, James. This one from John says, ouch, Reza got it wrong. It was not a Rolls game. We needed players who could take the ball in tight spaces and turn. Rolls passing backwards kept the pressure on us. Leeds easily the best team we faced this season. Their pace was frightening. One thing we miss massively. Now time to move on. Where do you stand on this Rolls?
Personally, sort of for myself, even though he's not the most creative player, I think having players like Rawls in the team is important, because he's the captain. He's the one that's sort of motivating them and keeping them together. So, players like Rawls are probably important for games like this.
Okay, all right then. Do you agree with that, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, again, the only sort of changes you could probably forecast would have been our new signing from Ajax, but again, he's not played amount of minutes. I just think, again, we can all look at it. I was one of them yesterday, looking at different aspects of it, but I just think we were overrun no matter who we played. They had a very high tempo press yesterday, and I think whoever we put in there would have probably been pressured, and the same probably outcome would have happened, albeit maybe not 7.
Okay. We've also got Lee with us. How are you doing, Lee? Welcome back. Congratulations. That's all right. Congratulations on becoming a dad again. How's the week been for you?
Tiring. Probably not as tiring as watching your team get thumped 7-0, traveling all the way up there and back.
All right. Do follow Lee on Twitter if you don't already. Right then, let's talk about what's come then, shall we? Let's look at Stoke. Stoke first. The suggestion here from Craig is an awful result for the goal difference. Let's write it off and forget about it. Portsmouth away is humongous. 10 days is a long time in football. Before we get to Portsmouth, though, James, there we go. We've got Stoke first in the FA Cup at Stoke. There's some suggestions from fans. Forget this. Write it off. Give them the win. Move on. Play the big team. And let's get to Portsmouth and take 3 points off them. Would you agree with that or not?
I don't think it's that drastic, to be honest. Obviously, the league is the priority, but given sort of the players that don't really play much first team football, or sort of stay on the bench for most of the time, giving them a chance to play and get some minutes is important as well, because we need to sort of get them bedded into the team. So obviously we go to Stoke, try and get a win, and if we go into the next round, we can. And to be honest, winning games, even if it is a cup game, is good to get the confidence going. And to be honest, a win after yesterday's performance is probably the best thing we need at the moment, just to sort of get things going again.
Cheers. Lee, you've got 2 teams here, though, and Stoke fans will say the same. that both want to lose and could both do with being knocked out of this cup as quickly as possible in order to get focus on the league a bit more. You tried this at Sheffield United and came up against them doing the same thing. Your kids were better than their kids, but he's not going to play a full strength squad, is he? Given that you've got Portsmouth on the Tuesday.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. We're also hoping to have some new signings in as well, and it could be a good game to bed them in. Rainy away day at Stoke, especially for these boys coming from abroad as well. It'll give them a bit of, it'll show the physicality, even though it won't be a full strength squad from either side. At least it'll show the physicality in the league, and it'll probably be a really good game for them guys.
Okay, Jamie, what's your thoughts on the cup? Is it an unnecessary distraction for the Bluebirds?
No, I share what the boys say. At the end of the day, a squad is no longer, just say 18 in a match day squad. You've got the supplementary players as well. You've also got the youngsters that may be sort of on the fringe and looking the next step in their development. Like you alluded to there, we were going up on a cold Thursday night to Sheffield, thought, that we'd probably lose. However, our youngsters probably turned in one of the better performances that we've seen all season. And again, maybe it's just the clamour of the FA Cup, the lack of attraction for it, etc. But I don't think for that 90 minutes, I think players will be at it. They want to get in the manager's thoughts. They want to prove fans, if they've been playing poorly, that they're still there to play. And yeah, listen, cold, wet, windy, whatever it'll be in Stoke, I'm sure both sets of fans will be up for it like they always are. And who knows what can happen.
Yeah. I think it might be predicted one of the lowest attendances of the fourth round, the way that Stoke have been talking so far about ticket sales. Right, let's also have a look at February, because as Jamie I think said earlier, it is a huge month for Cardiff in terms of opponents and being around you. So after that Portsmouth game then, James, it's Bristol City at home, and they're already looking forward to that one. They've been chomping at the bit. And then a massive one, Plymouth away, and then Hull City at home. So really, all the teams around you plus Bristol City. It's a massive month for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Obviously, Bristol City at home been decent against them over the last sort of year or so now, so I wouldn't mind picking up at least a point or potentially 3 there. So Portsmouth at home before that could be potentially another point. They sort of hit and miss they are at home. Plymouth away, I'd be looking to possibly get 3 points there, and probably the same with Hull as well at home. So to be honest, out of them sort of 4 league games here, I'd be looking 7 to 9 points.
Lee, when you look at the table now, I mean, we actually a couple of weeks ago thought Cardiff were out of it, weren't we? And now, it only takes a week in the Championship season, and you're all kind of dragged back into it, looking over your shoulder. How do you see this going now that things have settled down with managers and we've got an idea of what the squad's going to look like?
Yeah, this is the thing. You see Portsmouth, Plymouth, and Hull all bringing in new faces. We've had Reza here for a while, and as much as we have had a really good January, you look at this February and it could be disastrous if it doesn't go our way. Hopefully that's not the case, but we need to be getting stuff from these teams around us. If we don't, as long as just don't lose against these teams, because we can't afford it.
Yeah. Okay. Jamie, do you think Swansea are in a relegation fight as well?
Listen, I think yeah. However, again, for me, it's the case of get this transfer window shut, because while teams are linked with players, and in and around you always wonder, oh, that's a good player, that could do that for that side, and so on and so forth. So you don't want to give these sides who are sort of on a downward slope at the minute, a downward trajectory, any sort of good news, if that makes sense. I mean, they could be. Again, their fans are really, really unhappy with their club, and we've probably seen that ourselves with our own club. Of course, if they come into the fight with us, of course you would. But you know what? That's the Championship. Like Lee said, it's a funny old league, and this is why it's one of the best leagues in the world, because you could look at it. I think someone alluded to me yesterday. You've got your top tier in the Championship, your Leeds, your Burnleys, and the big boys. And then you've probably got about 8 to 10 teams fighting for 3 relegation spots. And yeah, it's going to be one for the watchers, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look, obviously, like I say, you look at the Championship at the moment, and you see where sort of Coventry were under Robbins, and now they're, I think, 3 points off the playoffs. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. 3 wins takes you to the playoffs, and 3 losses sends you back down into relegation worries, doesn't it? Madness. January's over, though, so we can ask you now for your January Unsung Player of the Month. Lee, can you give us a name of a player who's impressed you, please?
Well, to be fair, as I said, it's been a pretty good month. So you could name a number of different players there. The obvious name are, you got your Robertson, O'Dowda when he's been fit. But for me, in this month, I think Joel Rowles has just been immense in that midfield. Just a commanding presence for us. Exactly what we needed against Swansea. He doesn't give us goals these days. He doesn't give us a lot of pace, but he's just that presence and stability in the middle of the park. And he's had his 400th appearance for us as well, which is a massive milestone. So I'd go Joel Ross, unsung hero.
All right. Cheers, Jamie.
I think for us personally, we're probably going to look at Rinomota, and I think he's been consistent to keep a player like Perry NG out the side, who over the years has been brilliant for Cardiff City. It speaks volumes. Yes, yesterday, albeit a different month, the start of February wasn't particularly great, but for the month of January, I think he was really, really good, and he kept a lot of really high talented wingers in his pocket, to be fair.
Absolutely. 2 good shouts here, James. Can you add a third?
Unfortunately not. I mean, I would like to say a different name, but I have to agree with Jamie there and pick Rinomota. I think he's been absolutely quality since he's sort of been consistent in the side at right back, and he's had some really good performances for us.
Okay. All right. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thank you very much, you 3. Before we let you go, in the last couple of weeks, we've been picking our worst ever Cardiff 11. We finish it off today because we've just got the midfield to do. So can you let us know in the comments right now, get typing, who is the worst midfielder Cardiff City have ever signed? Could be on loan as well, doesn't have to be a permanent signing, but who have been the midfield dynamos that just shouldn't have bothered? James, can you give us one?
I'm just trying to think at the moment. I got no names to mind at the moment.
Okay.
I've got a list.
A list. Okay, let's go to Jamie then before we get your list, Lee.
I'm going to say a young man called Suleiman Taiwo. I believe we signed him from Dagenham and Redbridge upon the fact that when we played him in the first round or something like that, the Carling Cup, he had a good game. So we thought, we'll sign him, and he flopped. So Suleiman Taiwo is my name that stands out to me.
Gosh, if you said that at home, pat yourself on the back. Where you've pulled that from, Jamie? Good stuff, Lee.
So I believe Taiwo was a winger. Is that right, Jamie? If I remember on top of my head.
Yeah, he was here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. On the other wing, I'd like to nominate Calvin Atuhu, come on loan from Man City, and he came off the bench on the playoff final against Blackpool, which we lost. Frob Freud when it should have been McCormack all along, and I'll always resent him for that, even though it wasn't his fault. And then in midfield, I would go Leandro Bacuna, 3 million, big wages, terrible attitude, terrible discipline, and just overall, just not a nice person. Just need someone else for that centre midfield, I think.
Okay. Any other names anyone can think of? We've exhausted them all.
The only other one I've got on the top of my head is a young Welsh boy that was we all wanted, and just nothing ever happened. Last name Hughes, Huws. I think he came with us with a big future ahead. I think it was a part of the Trollop renaissance of all the Welsh boys, and he played 3 games. He had a 3-year contract, and then he was there for 1 season and vanished.
These are all quality we got there in the end. Let us please help us out in the comments if we've missed any. I'm sure some of you are screaming now, going, "What about this? What about that?" Right, you lot. Thank you very much. Enjoy your trip to Stoke. Enjoy your trip to Pompey. We'll see you back in 7 days' time to review how it's gone. If you haven't yet subscribed, we know you're looking at the numbers going, must be a terrible channel. There's only 20 or so subscribers. It's only started a couple of months ago. Drop us a subscribe. Help us get to 25. That would be amazing. And obviously follow the rest of us on Twitter as well. All right, have a good week, everyone.